It's so wonderful to see you. Yeah, excited to get into this. Thanks for joining us, Caitlin and Adam. I'll ask maybe both of you to introduce yourselves and what you do.
Sure, I'll jump in.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Adam.
Hi, my name is Adam Brayford. I'm a certified strategic communication management professional, so SCMP, a bit of a mouthful. And I'm here in Vancouver, BC, where it's very sunny, working at Simon Fraser University in communications. I also used to work for Travis at Staffbase, so big fan.
With clarification, not for.
That's right, sorry. And big fan of Caitlin's as well, so I'm happy to be here today. Fun fact about me, very Canadian, I do curling on the weekend. So there you have it.
Adam, that's not supposed to be something that you actually do as a Canadian. It's just something that we tell everyone we do.
Well, you know what? I actually love it.
Caitlin, what about yourself?
Well, hi everyone. My name is Caitlin Anderson. I am not an SCMP yet. I have just registered for that test. So it's in the middle of studying and cramming like a freshman right before finals. So that's where I'm at on that journey. I am a word nerd and a communications data head. So you might hear a lot about data in my comments coming up. And I work for Autodesk, which is a design and make company. And I have been supporting a executive there for the past 10 years. So I live in Bend, Oregon, Pacific Northwest. And the most cliched thing about me is I really do love my coffee. And my other blazer might have been plaid. So here's for regional cliches.
Very close. That Pacific Northwest vibe for sure. There should be a poll. I'm not sure if it went live. Just a little side note. It looks like we don't have Jenny yet, so we're going to continue on without her. Sad, shed a tear, pour one out for Jenny. But she might pop in halfway through. But I wanted to ask both of you, how much time, like clearly SCMP, we've got some studying, we've got, a lot of growth going on. How much time do the two of you individually put to education and self-development and learning? Maybe Adam, if you want to go first.
Yeah, I mean, lots, especially, still now, but part of the communication certification is you need to maintain your learning, which is very smart. But certainly early in my career, I spent a lot of time volunteering with IABC on my local board and just getting to work alongside people who had been in the field for much, much longer than I had. And I talk about a bit, was always my best way of learning is working with smarter people than me, which is a great many.
What about yourself, Caitlin?
I don't think I could put a percentage on it. I think at this point, it's more of a lifestyle to be a continual learner and to lead with curiosity. But there's not a day when I'm not reading or consuming via audiobooks. It's one of those things where you just kind of want to stay on top of trends and data. And yeah, it's part of my daily habits. So.
Well, I hope to be as put together as the two of you one day. I'll one day when I grow up be just like you. Where do you turn to professional comms development early in your career? Adam, you kind of already touched on this, but I think this question is really focused around, when you're starting out in internal comms, where do you turn to for education? This is not a plug for campus, by the way. I think that connection is implied. But when you started out in your careers, where did you turn to?
I came from a marketing background, so I was really entrenched in that world. So I'd be reading Seth Godin's daily email. That's a good way to get that learning habit in. Subscribe to Seth Godin, Michael Hyatt, Donald Miller, Tim Ferriss. I'd always be reading and listening to them. And Marie Forleo, right? there are so many transferable skills. When I started out in internal communications, I didn't even know what was out there. So I went to what I knew and transferred that over.
Right.
Yeah,
What about
that's
yourself, Adam?
awesome. Well, I would also say when I was first hired into comms, I was working for a boss who wasn't a communicator, and that's often the case, right? If you're not in a big comms shop, and a lot of the time the pitfall is they don't necessarily understand what communication is, right? So I really kind of took it upon myself to do some self-education because I felt like I was out of my depth. And one thing that was really, really helpful is applying to Gold Quill Awards, so the International Communication Awards. And the reason for that is there's really good guides on how you should be setting up your communication strategy, which is obviously foundational for new communicators. But then when you get your entry back based on your comms work, you get really good feedback. Sometimes really brutal feedback, but sometimes you need that. And then the other place I would point to, because Caitlin mentioned some really good books, our third speaker, who hopefully will show up, but I know she's over the pond, so we might have some issues. But Jenny Field, she has an awesome set of books in comms. One of them is Influential Internal Communication. And if you listen to the audiobook, she's just got the most posh British accent. So nice to listen to. So another good tip there.
Isn't it great? I was so excited to have her in here to sophisticate us a little bit. But what you said, Caitlin, really kind of triggered something, is that, that early, your commute to work, your early morning, you subscribe to a new email newsletter or something like that comes out in on the morning on Monday morning, and carving out that time. And it's so interesting, I think, as professionals, when we hear stuff like financial advice, like the bedrock of financial advice is if you're trying to achieve a goal, pay yourself first. And then we don't do that when it comes to education. It becomes a thing that we just later, we'll do it later. But Caitlin, what for you was the most impactful professional growth that you had done? Do you have any examples of kind of what was the standout for you?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest aha moments was around 5 years ago when I had a new manager, and he suggested that I look into metrics as a differentiator and just a way to build more of that business muscle so I could speak my executive's language. And really digging into that either through LinkedIn Learning or more books, and also just a lot of conversation with other professionals in the office, our finance business partner, legal business partner, people, just all over the company. I would say that was a huge turning point. And that's really led me to be more proactive and strategic versus reactive and doing last minute comms. I would say that has been a pivotal point in my career.
That's very rebellious of you to be the communicator that specializes in numbers.
It's kind of ironic if you looked at my my grades in high school, but yeah.
Isn't that so true? What about yourself, Adam?
Yeah, and not that I'm trying to plug, but honestly, I hope that we will implement a tool like Staffbase at this university soon, because I really miss the analytics I used to get from the system. They were great, but obviously there's many different kinds of metrics in comms. But for me, it's two things: the most impactful professional growth. One, again, volunteering for a professional network. Honestly, that really was the most impactful, because I got a lot of really good feedback early on, and then throughout my career. And that was what that meant, was sitting on a board of directors, overseeing a portfolio from student services to marketing to being a president of a chapter. That applied learning is amazing. And then I think the other thing is just kind of an approach to learning, which was in professional growth. Anytime I tried something new, and you have that initial kind of struggle, I learned the most. So to me, that was taking jobs. And one piece of advice I've heard a lot lately is, don't shy away from taking a job that you think is just a little beyond your reach, a little out of your comfort zone. Fake it till you make it if you can. And honestly, people learn by doing, by looking things up. If you have the, the attitude of, I will figure this out and provide a good product, like those new experiences where you're kind of putting yourself in the learning seat again are where I grew the most. So yeah, I used to work here for 10 years and then I took 4 years off and now I'm back again. And they're like, oh, you're better now. Not that I wasn't okay, but you go out, you try something new and you learn.
Yeah. Thank you. But also what?
Yeah.
You're better now. In terms of some of the investments, let's talk about the investments in your professional career, because of course there's volunteer work and things like that. But I'd be kind of curious where you've invested the most financially in your development, and were those fruitful for you? Like, did you see the return on investment for some of those learning opportunities?
Absolutely. When I turned 30, I had this little my quarter life or third life millennial crisis. And
they happen every week now, but I mean,
different time. But I come off mat leave. I had a new manager. I was turning 30, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I hired a life coach to help me figure out what success really looked like for me and what was really important to me. And getting that kind of that personal inner work done paid off dividends. And yes, I still revisit. Sometimes I'm like, what do I want to do with my life? All I know is comms and data now. So what am I going to do? But I love it, right? And learning how to really identify what's important and what my goals are. I know for many of us, we are kind of forging the path. There haven't been a lot of high profile internal comms executives. So we're all kind of, we're all pioneers or explorers. That might be a better term, where we might be hacking through the weeds and discovering, hey, my compass is telling me to go this way, so I'm going to go this way instead. But I would say that has been one of the most important professional development things that I've ever done. And I would highly recommend it to everyone.
100%. And that is one of the things that I do really appreciate about the comms community, is that it does seem like everyone's trying to bring each other up along the way. We when we have wins, we share them. And yeah, it's really cool to see. What about yourself, Adam?
Yeah, I really love that point that there aren't that many kind of big, notable internal comms executives out there to look up to. So the entrepreneurial thing, one of the reasons I'm excited to watch everyone else's course in Staff-based campus, totally can echo coaching. It's what made me realize just how indirect and how confrontation averse I was, and that's been my professional arc and career journey. Radical Candor, the book by Kim Scott's a really good one on being unafraid of giving and receiving feedback, especially in tough conversations. But I think beyond that, investment in a different way, investment in time, I think professional friendships. So going out to social events and treating those relationships like long-term, lifelong friendships, as opposed to transactional. I meet you today, I give you my elevator pitch, you hire me tomorrow, because you never know where those relationships are going to take you and what you're going to learn from them and what new opportunity they'll give you. And, I have had people serve as an amazing reference for me just because I've kind of tangentially known them for like 10 years through my professional community. And they've just, passed on an informal word of praise to the person who's considering me. So I think, keeping up that network is huge.
And maybe for the both of you, in terms of those professional development goals, any advice on getting budgets approved to to pay for education through work?
Well, I've always been fortunate to work places with a stipend for continuing education.
Nice.
But I also have to come up with the business case. So go back to using data and with the desired outcomes and what I will learn and what kind of structure I will bring back to the team and how it will increase our effectiveness. So, big shocker, data.
Right
I'm
answer.
thread, right?
You know what? I actually think that's a really good question to ask. And I've learned recently a few things that are questions you should ask in an interview when considering a job. And I think one of them is, do you support growth and professional development of your employees? Because it says us a lot about the culture of your boss, of the organization. So that first and foremost. But once you're in there, I too have been lucky in most, not all workplaces, and that they've supported professional growth. And my experience has been more, they wish everyone would use their funds and grow themselves, but they don't. So I've always been like, what extra money you got that people aren't using? Give it to me. I'll go and learn here and there, and at a conference, take a course. But yeah, beyond that, obviously, I think Caitlin is totally right. Make a business case, use the data, connect it back to the vision of the organization and the mission of the department when you're making that ask.
And I don't ask this because I hope that it will help and influence folks to go and register for Voices and get that paid through work.
I wish.
Nothing to do with this question. But in terms of your daily growth, what does that look like, and how do you get yourself into this space? Caitlin, you kind of touched on it, but I'm wondering about any other advice in terms of how to work professional growth into that constant, like you said, getting yourself into that groove of, I'm going to improve every single day. And it's never going to be I'm going to go away for a professional week. Those are great. But yeah, how do you get yourself into that pattern?
For a long time, I was stuck in that. I think people can get stuck in wanting to really push hard, but then to be paralyzed by perfectionism. So you need to take 2 steps forward and then you kind of mambo backwards because you're like, I'm not so sure about this anymore. So I strive for progress and not perfection. And there's that concept of 1% happier. I try for 1% better, or learning 1% more every day. And a lot of that can look like beta testing. Working in software, we're really comfortable with beta testing because you try something crazy, see if it sticks, you get your data, and then if it doesn't work, you learn something. It's not a failure. It's a learning, and really getting comfortable with those learnings. One of my goals for this year is to fail spectacularly at something. Not that I'm awesome, because I'm not. I'm learning, right? But it's just to try something so out there that it's outside of my comfort zone, and where I rumble with it and get messy and make mistakes and learn.
Oh, this is hitting me right in the feels. So that's the to be able to fail and be okay at the end of it. And like you say, you're going to take something away from it, whether you like it or not. It might be a therapist pill, but it also might. Adam, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think I love that. I think probably a couple of things. Right now, I'm definitely on a kick of asking for a lot of feedback all the time. I'm in a newer position. I've moved into a new place, and so it's just a great opportunity to do that. And again, it's just a very applied way, as a lot of my tips are of growing. But even when running a meeting, at the end of every meeting, I ask, are there ways that we can make this time used more effectively? If you can't think of something now, let me know later offline. So just trying to learn from the people around me. And I think the other thing is, on a macro scale, this is one of the, I've had a few times in my career where I took a brief break from, strict communication and dove into strict project management for a communication team. And that's what I'm doing right now I'm in an interlude of doing project management for a comms team, which is so fun. Because when you're in comms, you have such a big scope and portfolio, and it's very hard to project manage all of it off the side of your desk. So it's just nice to be that person making their lives better. And so right now I'm diving into just online readings about project management, and what an awesome skill set that is to brush up on when you're in comms, because our work can be so creative, and it's just nice to balance that with some really kind of strict fundamentals of project management. So I'd recommend that as a tangential but totally complementary area to learn in.
And I would even go one further and say, from project management to product ownership, that's been a new space for me as well. And it is wild how much of that is applicable to comms, to development of really anything, and really kind of cutting to the meat of what you're there doing and what you're trying to achieve. It's a new space for me as well. And maybe one piece of advice to close this session out, one piece of advice that you would give to maybe your younger self, starting out in comms. What would you give to give that boost? Adam, why don't we start with you? You look like you got a good one.
Yeah. I would say don't always just say yes. Ask questions. So why are we doing this? Who is actually going to care? That's a really good tip, just to make you more strategic. And I borrowed that from someone else. And don't fall into the trap of when you're young, you want to push for your employer to just do all the fancy things. So there's a new social network, there's a new tool, and those are great, and that's part of the inherent benefit you bring as a young person or a digital native. But always push for strategy first, and to be involved in the strategy of the work that you're doing. And then you can make a case for why should we leverage different tools, different channels to achieve our goals. So yeah, strategy and questions would be my advice to younger me.
Awesome.
I would say lead with curiosity. Don't be afraid to rumble with big ideas. Keep the rumbling to, as long as it's about your work, get in the fray. Discuss big ideas. Use that courage muscle, because your job is to step in and to help executives as a consultant and really help them make that business case. So yeah, curiosity, rumble, and then balance humanity and heart with data and pragmatism, because you're in it for the long run.
I love that. Don't be afraid to rumble. I'm getting tattooed somewhere, because that's awesome. And it's one of those things that, like, for us, for a team of perfectionists to put something like campus out there, it was definitely that, like, toss into the deep end of the pool is just like, get in there and we'll figure it out. But you always have time to perfect and to make things better, but trying is that first piece, huh? Ooh, that was a lot to take in. I really appreciate both of you joining. I do have to apologize. It sounds like Jenny not being a part of the session was on our end, so I'll apologize. We'll find out more about what happened there. But big apologies to Jenny and to everyone for missing out on her wonderful British accent.
Aw, we miss you, Jenny, but we looked better because you weren't here. By the way, Caitlin, sometime offline, you said you're a word nerd or a grammar nerd. I wrote my own song about the umlaut, the two dots, to the tune of Bop by Hanson. And I won't do it now, but over a glass of wine one day.
I feel like we were meant to be friends. I mean, I'll show up with my Team Oxford comma shirt to the next event.
Perfect.
And I'm going to start a stretch goal for those that join. If we can get the number of campus certificates and all of those, if we can juice those numbers up, we will find a way to get Adam to do a full music video for this supposed song.
I'll do it, baby. I'm in.
Wonderful.
We can have an AI do it of Adam. So pick Adam.
Right. We don't
Well,
even need Adam anymore. We've got your voice.
We'll do it, Caitlin. We can harmonize.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. And yeah, look forward to connecting again in the future. If anyone has any questions for Adam or Caitlin, again, can we offer to connect on LinkedIn for the both of you?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Cool. Well, yeah. Let's definitely connect and let's bring each other up. Let's help each other get better in this space. Cool. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Bye.